Yeah, we just got the YouTube link notification, Ajay. So it's working now.
Mahesh? Mahesh, you're on mute.
No, the machine itself is saying it's enough for you. You be in mute.
Anybody else I need to make a co-host?
No, it's fine. I think myself, yourself, and the speaker. Yeah.
I'll speak. Okay. The speaker has joined. Yes.
He's not in, he's not there.
He's there. Yeah, I made it. Balraj sir has raised his hand. Anything, sir?
Balraj sir is just marking his attendance for CPE hours.
I saw him in the video.
Balraj sir has been watching all our programs through YouTube, but his CPE hours are not getting credited. So he asked me why, what happened. Bhavin, we just hit half century.
What, another 2-3 minutes, Mahesh? That's what we do suggest?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Raghuji.
Good afternoon, Chapter. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, Bhavin, let's good to go.
Okay. Shall we start, Mahesh, Ajay? Okay. Let me first of all start by wishing Eid Mubarak to all our colleagues and members who are present on this call. A very warm welcome on a warm Friday evening to all the members of BCIC-AI, our fraternity colleagues from Europe, Africa, GCC, as well as from Far East. Colleagues, be it a Bollywood movie or be it a Cricket World Cup, I think the climax or the finale is the most exciting and looked up to event. So here we are with the last event for the current XCOM team. I think when Mahesh decided the theme for this year, that is conquering new frontiers, I think seldom would he have thought of conquering new frontiers by organizing so many events in the non-traditional online platform. I think that's only one of the points where this team has conquered new frontiers. Successful execution of almost all the events during this term is a testimony to the leadership skills of Mahesh, or probably in today's event context, I can say the collaborative leadership. So, and to end this term, we again have a session on the same topic by a professional and an expert who will help us all to learn the importance, the benefits, the skill, and the tricks for collaborative leadership. So without taking too much of your time, let us get started. Let us have some ground rules. I will request all the people present on this call to please put themselves on mute. In case you have any questions, the same can be put up into the chat box. After the speaker's session, we will be having a question answer session where we'll try and answer all these questions. For the benefit of all the people present over here, this event is being live streamed on YouTube. The notifications have been sent and the link is also available. So without further ado, to set the ball rolling for this session, can I please request a welcome speech by our, for the last time, visionary chairperson, Mahesh Kumar Narayan. Over to you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Bhavin, as usual, for your witty but generous praise and appreciation for the work that we have done in the last 1 year. And as you rightly said, it is not one person's effort; it's the team effort. And today, what we are seeing is the culmination of the 1 year's journey. And yes, as rightly said, we have a very good subject matter authority who is going to dwell more into that. Friends, Eid Mubarak to everyone who has joined us from Bahrain, India, other parts of the world. We are here today on the final CPE event of the term 2019-2020. And I'm very happy to say that we've had a satisfying year, and we are going to talk more about the year that went by at the end of the session, where you'll be hearing all the executive committee members talking about their learnings and experiences. The topic of today is, of course, a tribute to everybody who has been instrumental in ensuring that 2019-2020 term was successful, and they wholeheartedly collaborated in the best way possible in ensuring that our events and our activities are a grand success. Whether it is members from the Bahrain chapter, whether it is the office bearers from the overseas chapters, the members from overseas chapter, our ICI leadership, everyone has played a role in ensuring that Bahrain chapter conquers new frontier. We look forward for an interesting and stimulating session by the speaker, Prakash Iyer ji. And as much as you are eagerly awaiting to hear from him, I'm also eagerly awaiting, handing back the charge to Bhavin to take the session forward. Thank you, Bhavin.
Thanks a lot, Mahesh. Thank you. Friends, so now may I have the privilege of giving you a brief background and then introducing the speaker for the day. The speaker for the day on the subject of collaborative leadership is Mr. Prakash Iyer. So let me just tell you a little bit about Mr. Iyer. An MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and having spent more than 3 decades in the corporate world, Mr. Iyer is an independent business advisor with experience in building businesses and developing leaders in India and overseas. Apart from coaching CEOs, advising leadership teams, Mr. Iyer also serves as an advisor to multiple. It's a $1 billion PE fund, and he's also a director on the board of Xerox India Limited. And for all the cricket fans, especially the ones, Chennai Super King fans might little bit step aside now. The speaker for the day has also worked with Mumbai Indians in their title-winning campaign in 2015. And with IPL coming in, I'm sure that this is a very good news for all the Mumbai Indians fans, which I know there are a lot, especially after the successful IPL finale, which we had. The BCCI themselves had organized a screening. So I think this is for information of Mr. Iyer also, that last year in the final, we had a live telecast of the finale, which we did in a hotel, which was attended by more than 200 members and their families. But okay, no, let me continue with the introduction of Mr. Iyer. In his illustrious career, he has worked as a managing director of Kimberly Clark Lever, director and CEO of Infomedia India Limited, which was formerly Tata Press, and executive director at PepsiCo. Mr. Iyer speaks, writes, and conducts workshops on leadership, teamwork, execution, storytelling, and winning. He writes a fortnightly column on leadership in Business World by the title of PI Talkies, and is the author of 3 best-selling books, The Habit of Winning and The Secret of Leadership. Both are published by Penguin, and You Too Can by Times Books. So I have a lot more to say, but I would prefer that I hand over the charge to Mr. Prakash Iyer. So with a huge round of virtual applause, let us all please welcome and hand over the charge to Mr. Prakash Iyer. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you so much, Bhavin. Thanks a lot. And thanks, Mahesh. And thank you for reminding me. So Eid Mubarak to all of you. Maybe a good idea to make sure that you're on mute so that you can hear this a little bit clearly. So if everybody can be on mute, that will be terrific. I'm looking forward to the next hour and a half or so, simply because, hey, it's not often that I get a chance to speak and have, a whole lot of chartered accountants listening to me. Most of the time, I have to do all the listening while my CA tells me kya galat kiya and why we should have done it differently. So this is really special for me in many, many ways. And I'm excited to be talking to all of you about, as I figured, something which all of you are probably very good at. I've just heard how the success of your chapter perhaps can be attributed to collaborative leadership. And really what I want to do is to try and share some of my thoughts on what does it take for us to kind of get this bit right for ourselves, okay? I'm not here to try and tell you too much theory or to give you the deep-rooted philosophy behind it. My idea is to try and make it simple and share some personal experiences, some of the things that I've learned with the hope that perhaps that will help you also to try and get this right in your life, in your organization. And really, all of us are leaders in our own right, and we want to get it right. Sometimes the mistake we can make is to think that we are alone. I am a leader and the rest of them are my followers and that's my team. And now, because I'm a leader, they will do everything I tell them to do. That is going to be a mistake. And really, what we're going to talk about in collaborative leadership is really how do we leverage the power of our teams? Okay. Eventually, a leader will only be as good as the team. And we sometimes forget the wisdom that no one of us is as smart as all of us. So what can a leader do to kind of engage this collective intelligence available to him or her, so as to be able to kind of achieve the results that you always wanted for your team? That's really what we're going to do. And I think Bhavin said it right, that if you have any questions, feel free to kind of put them into the chat. And I'm sure at the end of it, I'd be more than happy to answer as many questions as you have for me. So more than happy to do that, yeah? So let's get started. And I want to take you to where you all probably are already, which is really on top of the world, okay? This is a picture of the world's tallest mountain peak. Yeah, Mount Everest, okay? And if you know it's Mount Everest, I'm guessing you might remember the names of the people who actually were the first guys to climb Mount Everest. Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. Yeah, they were the 2 people who climbed Mount Everest. And it's appropriate, I think, in the context of what we're talking about today, that it wasn't one person who did it. It was actually a team of 2 that got there. And it's interesting also that it's not as if Hillary woke up one morning and said, chal yaar, aaj Mount Everest chalte hain. Not quite. It took a lot of planning. It took a lot of effort. And it's interesting. The story goes that Hillary tried climbing Mount Everest several times and failed. Tried and failed. Tried again, failed again. Tried one more time, failed one more time. And apparently, after one such failed mission, he was standing at base camp and looking at Mount Everest in the distance. And he suddenly screamed and he said, "You, Mount Everest, don't be so proud. I'll get you one day. I'll get you because you're only a mountain. You're not going to grow. I'm a human being. I'll grow. I'll get better." And I think for all of us, it's a terrific attitude to have. An attitude that says, I can get better. No matter how tough the challenge is, no matter how difficult the goal might appear to be, you should back yourself and say, I'll get better. And I think for all of us, our success in the future is not going to be about how good we are today, but about how do we keep getting better. Getting better then is really a good mantra to have for yourself. And I think in a lot of what we will do today, it's really about saying, hey, I know I'm good, but how can I get just a bit better? I think if you remember that it was Hillary and Tenzing who got to Mount Everest, a good question to ask ourselves is this: if two people want to climb a mountain, what's the most important thing they need? And I'm guessing, you'd probably say it could be teamwork, and you could say it's important because one person can't do it. They must learn to work as a team. So that's important. You could argue it's equipment. You need tools. You need those, oxygen tanks and those shoes and those goggles. You probably need some training. So, it doesn't hurt to have gone to IIM or, Indian Institute of Mountaineering to have got some training in what does it take for us to climb a mountain. You probably say you need luck, right? You need favorable environment. You want the weather to be good. You want to make sure that, it's a clear day and that might help you to climb a mountain. So the truth is, you need that. You need luck. You need a plan. You need teamwork. You need equipment. But perhaps one of the most important things you need if you want to climb a mountain, you need that goddamn mountain. Okay. It's extremely important for us to have a goal. And if you're trying to say, hey, how can I take my team to some kind of success? It's important for us to make sure that we have that goal very clearly spelled out for us. Once you have a mountain, it doesn't matter that you don't have equipment. You'll probably get a call from an uncle who says, hey, I've got some equipment lying in my garage, come take it. Once you have a mountain, it doesn't matter that it's cloudy in the morning. You'll say if it's cloudy in the morning, it'll clear up by lunchtime. Okay? That is the power of having a goal. Somebody said this, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And I think the challenge for most of us in our teams is to make sure that everyone is clear about what's our mountain. Okay? And a good idea for you to try and check with your team, with your organization, and say, hey, what's our mountain? What's that goal that gets us all to do what we do every single day? So having that purpose, that goal, I think is the starting point of big journeys, of great journeys. And if you want to understand what it means to have collaborative leadership, what does it mean for a team and for a leader to be working together to a common goal, I think that first step is to have a clearly spelled out goal, which everybody knows and everybody has bought into. Okay? So that's really the first thing, and maybe a good thing to do today. It's a Friday, and I know you've got pretty much a long evening ahead of you. But if you don't have it, maybe ask yourself the question, what's my mountain? And try and answer that for yourself. And it might be a great first step to take. Moving on, I want to ask you to kind of, fasten your seatbelts, as it were, because we're going to take off on the US Airways flight 1549. It's a cold winter afternoon in January of 2009. And this flight is ready to take off from LaGuardia Airport in New York. It's got about 155 people on board. It's just another flight going off to Charlotte, I think. And Everybody's kind of ready to take off. And as it happens, the co-pilot is in command of the plane. The captain, of course, is sitting by his side, having his coffee, reading the newspaper. And I'm sure all of us who, all of you who kind of worked with a boss very closely, you can relate to this, right? The boss has the fun, while the co-pilot, of course, has the hard job of making sure the takeoff is good. So the plane takes off, and within a couple of minutes, it's at about 2,000 feet. In 3 minutes, it's at about 3,000 feet, and it's like, clearing through, climbing still. When suddenly there's a thud. And before people can react, there's a second thud, okay? And it's almost as if magically something has gone quiet, can't hear anything. And some of the passengers can swear that they just saw some fire sparks coming out of the engine. What's actually happened is that birds have hit the engines of the plane, and both engines have packed up. Okay? It was a flock of geese which was flying at low height, and they've gone straight into the engines, and both engines have packed up. Now, aeroplanes are designed in such a way that if one engine fails, no problem. But if both engines fail, big problem. Because this plane is now like a glider, okay? And they are, before you know anything else, of course, what the captain does is very quickly says, takes control of the plane, because the co-pilot now has to go and pull out the manual and check, what do you do when both engines fail? Okay? And the captain then radios back to LaGuardia air traffic control and says, we have a problem, both engines have failed. And LaGuardia says, no problem, come right back and we'll clear the runway for you. So now the captain tries to turn this plane, and he's a veteran, 30-year expert, so he's been doing it for a long time. But as he's trying to turn the plane, he can see that he doesn't have too much power left in the plane. And he can see Manhattan down below, there's traffic in New York City. And the captain recognizes that if this plane was to come down, man, there could be a problem, right? Not only will he kill 155 people on board, but he could probably kill people on the ground below too. So he tells LaGuardia, I can't make it. And they say, there's another small airport outside New Jersey. Why don't you try and go there? He says, yeah, great idea. And he tries to turn the plane now. And, he can see the river Hudson flowing down below. And he's trying to turn this plane. And he says, I don't think we can make it. And that's when the captain of the plane, someone you will all recognize, a man called Captain Sully, decides to land the plane in the water on the river Hudson. And in what's now come to be known as the miracle on the Hudson, this plane lands in the water, and all 155 people come out alive. I think it's a fascinating story. It also tells you that, what can happen to people, to teams, and how sometimes great leadership is also about being able to take decisions which can have an impact on other people's lives. And I'd like to share with you 3 lessons from this incident, which can help us all, I think, in our own journeys as leaders. So here's the first one. I think what you saw with Captain Sully is what I'd like to call learning agility. Okay? What's learning agility? It's knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. Okay? There will be several times in your life when you will not know what to do, but you will need to figure out what to do. Okay? And if you think about it, Captain Sully, been a pilot for 30 years, 15 years with the US Air Force, 15 years with US Airways, and yet 30 years of flying hasn't taught you what do you do when both engines fail like this. Okay? And I think that's a good lesson for us. Sometimes we can think, oh, I have so much experience, I know what to do. And we try and copy paste solutions from the past to try and solve problems of the future. Doesn't always work. So good idea to say, hey, how can I build on my experience to try and find new solutions? Okay. And I think if you can do that, you will probably say, wow, that's how I can leverage my experience to try and find new solutions. Okay, so get that learning agility, which can help us all in trying to say, hey, let me try and find new solutions to new problems and building upon my experience. 2 other lessons. the first, and they're both really coming out of, what happened when Captain Sully was going through all of this and the kind of things that he said while this entire thing was happening. So the first one was, remember when the plane took off, who was in control? The co-pilot. Okay? But the minute the bird hits happened, okay, Captain Sully immediately says, my aeroplane. Okay. And when he says, my aeroplane, the co-pilot says, your aeroplane, and hands over control to the captain. Okay? This is something good leaders learn to do. They learn to take ownership. They learn to say, my aeroplane. If you look at the history of the world, you will find that every time there's a crisis, a great leader stands up and says, takes ownership and says, my aeroplane. So if you think of 9/11 and what happened in New York City, you'll remember that while all that mayhem was happening, the mayor of the city, Rudy Giuliani, was there taking ownership and saying, hey, I'm responsible, I'm in charge. So good leaders learn to say, my aeroplane. Okay. The second line is really something that Captain Sully says after the plane has landed in the water and all 155 people have come out alive. And Captain Sully, of course, the last man to leave the plane. And as he comes out, by now you've got the newspaper crew and the TV cameras and everybody's there. And the TV cameras, of course, everyone says the nation wants to know. And Captain Sully comes out and everyone says, Captain, you're a hero. What a fabulous job you've done. And that's when Captain Sully turns around, looks at his team, and he says, they did it. That's something else good leaders learn to do. They learn to give credit to their teams. So become that kind of leader who's quick to share credit with the team. Don't worry about the credit reaching you. It will come. Okay. Our greatness as leaders of great teams is in our ability to try and share credit with the rest of the team. So two things we must all learn to say, my aeroplane and they did it. Okay. The interesting thing for all of us is that over time, all of us have learned to say both these lines. We've learned to say my aeroplane and we've learned to say they did it. The only problem is we sometimes get the timing mixed up. So when things go wrong, we say they did it. And then after the problem is solved and everything is over, then we say, after all, my aeroplane. So I think it's a good question to ask yourself. When do you say they did it? And when do you say my aeroplane? I think good leaders who learn to take their teams along, leaders who learn to leverage the power of collaborative leadership are people who are quick to take ownership and give credit. So it's really that give and take. Give credit, take ownership. Okay. And I love this idea of taking ownership. And if you're one of those people, who likes to put up a little poster on your bathroom mirror so you see it every morning, this is a good one to put up. It's 10 words and each word is only 2 letters. And it says, if it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. Agar kuch acha hoga, wo mere karan hoga. Agar kuch bura ho raha hai, wo bhi mere karan hi ho raha hai. And I think if you can take this ownership in yourself, you will find that typically, there isn't a problem that you cannot solve. Okay. Just to make sure that everybody is here and is listening, and what I want to do is to try and share with you a quick question. And maybe what you can try and do is to find the answer and put the answer in the chat. So we'll know the chat is working and that we can actually use the chat. So here's the question, okay? What you see here are these 7 glasses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what you need to do is to try and answer the question, which of these glasses gets filled first? Now, don't think too hard and too much. All you need to do is to try and answer the question, which glass gets filled first? Okay, is it 1 or 2 or 3, or is it 4 or 5 or 6 or 7? And I can see everybody's going for the chat, and I can see that there is a lot of answers out there. And people are 7 says 4, says Clifford, 7 says Rajesh, 7 says someone else, 6 says Joby, 7 says Mr. Krishnan Ravindran, 9 says somebody, 7 says someone else, 5 says someone, 4 says 7. And I love this, okay? I love this because think about it. Yeah, we've got so many different answers. We got, almost everybody's got a different answer over here. And think about it. We are all professionals. We are chartered accountants, and yet for something as simple as this, we have different answers. Okay. And I think it's a good reminder to ourselves that just when you start thinking, the right answer, you might want to pause and say, maybe I don't have the right answer. Okay. And remember this, that, sometimes the first answer that strikes you is not always the right answer. Okay. And that's why we all need to remind ourselves that, hey, thank God we are not alone. The mistake we can make sometimes as leaders is to say, I know what the answer is. The answer is this. And everybody in the team says, yes, sir, that's the answer. Okay. And they follow you. And that's a bad place to be. You want to be the team where when you have an answer, somebody else is willing to say, I don't think that's the right answer. Okay. Because my answer is different. So now let's try and exchange notes and try and figure out what is the right answer. Okay. And that's a better chance, because then as a team, you have a better chance of coming up with the right answer. And remember, at the end of the day, there are no prizes for saying who has the right answer. The prizes are for saying what is the right answer. And if we can get the right answer, that's half the battle won. So for most of us, I think it's a good idea to remember that our first response is not always right. And that's why having somebody else in your team who can help you with what the answer might be is very, very powerful. Okay. There are lessons we've all learned in our life about leadership and about being good leaders. And I want to try and share with you a lesson I learned very early in my life. It's a powerful lesson, and I want to share that with you. It's about a time when I started my career. I used to sell soap, and I had just got confirmed as, just from being a management trainee, I'd become an area sales manager. And we had what was the chairman's visit. So the chairman of the company was going to visit our market. I used to be in Chennai, Madras in those days. And the chairman was to visit our market. Now, some of you, if you have some, might know this, that when the chairman is coming, what happens, of course, is that you dress up all the shops so that they look like they only sell our products. And then you go and request the shopkeeper to say, please say service is very good. And if there are problems, we'll solve it later. But for now, please say everything is good. So we were really preparing for this big visit. Our chairman was also known to ask lots of questions. So, as this young management trainee turned ASM, wanting to impress the chairman, I had answers to all the questions. So, what is Lifebuoy sales growth versus last year? How is Lux doing versus target for the year? What is Rin's market share? Why is Surf getting kicked by Nirma? So think of the question, and I had the answers. Our chairman, though, at that time was a scientist, someone who'd come up from the R&D part of the business. So I had answers to tougher questions like, what's the rainfall in Tamil Nadu? What's the yield per hectare for paddy in Tamil Nadu? Okay, what's the hardness of water in Chennai? So, think of the question. I had the answer. Big day, arrived, chairman lands up in Chennai at the airport, and I take him in our car, and I'm now off to a place called Madurantakam. Some of you from Chennai will probably know this place. It's about 100 kilometers from Chennai, small town in those days. And we were really trying to show him how, our rural distribution is and how good we are doing out there. So the chairman gets into the car, we are driving out now, and I'm sitting over there saying, bring it on, let's have the questions. No questions. And I'm thinking, what a waste of effort. It's now 15 minutes. We are now leaving Chennai, and I can see we are crossing a paddy field. So I look out at the paddy field, and I'm hoping the chairman's eyes will follow mine, and he will say, tell me, young man, what's the yield per hectare for paddy in Tamil Nadu? No luck. Anyway, such is life. We reach the distributors go down, which is where we're going to be working. And as it happens in India, to welcome the chairman, you've got the distributor, his wife, his mother-in-law, the dog, the distributor salesman, the merchandiser whose job is to plaster posters, the delivery boy whose job is to put the stuff, so everybody's standing over there to welcome the chairman. And as he's getting a tikka on his forehead and, saying hello to everybody, out of nowhere, the delivery boy suddenly looks up and says, "Hello, sir. Like, where have you been all these days?" And the chairman looks back and he says, "Hello." And then he turns around, looks at me and asks me my first question. "What's the name of that delivery boy?" It's an unfair world. Yeah, come on. Like somebody would say, this is out of syllabus. I mean, why would you want to know the name of a delivery boy? If you had asked me, what's the name of the distributor's elder brother, who was this influential guy in town, I would have told him his name. But delivery boy? Why would anyone want to know a delivery boy's name? And I think on that day, the chairman of the company, Dr. Ganguly, gave me a master class in leadership. And he said, the problem with you young managers, you're all looking up to see who is the boss, who's the boss's boss. You don't care for this, poor delivery boy. It's people like him who've made this company what it is. Think about it. For very little money, he slogs day in and day out. Make sure product is available, make sure product is visible. And if today we are a respected company, it's because of the efforts of people like the delivery boy. And he said to me, if you learn to take care of your delivery boys in life, they will do more for you than you would have ever thought was possible. It's a lesson I haven't forgotten. It's a powerful lesson in leveraging the power of your teams, in learning to respect those ordinary men and women who actually make a difference to our lives. Okay? It's a lesson I haven't forgotten. There's something else I haven't forgotten. The name of that delivery boy was Velu. You know how it is? Sometimes somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer. And for the rest of your life, you know the answer, but nobody's asking you the question ever again. And that's really how it was with Velu and me. But I think it taught me a lesson, which is really this, that leadership is not about me, it's about them. Okay. Yeah. I want to move on. Someone's not on mute. If you can kindly mute yourself, please. Thank you so much. This is for all you fans out there. So I spent a fabulous year having fun with the Mumbai Indians. And our coach at that time in 2015 was Ricky Ponting. And if you're a cricket fan, you'll agree, Ponting is one of the better batsmen in the world. I mean, arguably one of the best batsmen in the world. Okay, second best. Right now, actually third maybe. But yeah, but a great batsman, all right. And Ponting, as a batsman, had this remarkable ability to find the gap. So you could set any field for him, but Ponting would find the gap and score those boundaries. And I remember one of those young Mumbai Indian batsmen asking him, how do you do it? What's the secret? And Ponting's answer was interesting. And he said, it's pretty simple, actually. He says, almost any international batsman, when he goes out to the middle, the first thing he does when he gets to the middle is he looks around. He surveys the field. He can see there's a man at fine leg, there's someone at mid wicket, there's a guy at mid on, there's someone at mid off, there's a guy at cover. He says, when that batsman then puts his head down, the fielders get imprinted in the batsman's head. Okay? He knows exactly where everybody is. And Ponting says, what happens to me? I go out there, I look around, and when I put my head down, the gaps get imprinted in my head. Everyone sees the fielders, I see the gaps. And what does Ponting find? He finds the gaps. Okay? So I think it's an interesting one. You will find what you are looking for. Okay? In the case of most batsmen, they see the fielders. With Ponting, he sees the gaps. And the question to ask yourself is, what do you see when you look around? Do you see problems or do you see solutions? Do you see challenges or do you see opportunities? Do you see how things won't work? Or do you see how might things work? Depending on what you see, chances are that's what you will find. Look for problems and you will find lots of them. Look for solutions and you'll find lots of them too. And I think in some ways, at the heart of collaborative leadership is this ability to look for good. You look at your team and you're not constantly looking at them and saying, let me see what's wrong with them. You're looking and saying, let me see what's right with them. You have this positive streak, this optimism that allows you to see what's nice about the world. And when you see that, that's what you will typically find. Most of us are like that batsman who says, "Arey yaar, Itna acha shot tha. If there was no fielder at mid-wicket, I wouldn't have been caught. The problem is you can't choose the fielder. You can't choose where those fielders will be. You can't choose what problems you'll have. You can't decide, you know what, I have a big project here, please, I don't want this obstacle. I will take the other one. You can't choose. But what you can choose is what do you look for? And depending on what you look for, chances are that's what you will find. And I like this idea that there are really two kinds of people, two kinds of leaders. And one kind of leader looks at his team and says, look how stupid they are. Okay, because that shows you how smart I am. So I point out other people's stupidity so you can see how smart I am. Don't be that kind of leader. Become instead the kind of leader who says, look at how smart my team is. Look at how good this person is. Look at what a great idea that person is coming. And when you do that, people say, wow, what a smart leader this is. He's pulled together a fabulous team. And that really is the power that we can all leverage. I dare say it's a power that we don't leverage enough, and maybe we want to do more of that. Okay, here's another quick question for you, all of you, okay? Let's go. There are 3 monkeys on a tree, okay? There's a tree there, and there are 3 monkeys sitting on top of the tree, and there's a little lake or a pond at the bottom of the tree, okay? So 3 monkeys, and of course, a pond at the bottom. Now, one of those monkeys decides to jump into the water. The question you want to answer, and you can put that in the chat, is how many monkeys left on the tree? So 3 monkeys of the tree, 1 monkey decides to jump into the water. How many monkeys left on the tree? Okay, and what you can do is to try and put that answer in the chat. Okay, and someone says, yeah, okay, there are lots of answers. There's 0, there's 1, there's 3, there's lots of answers. And as always, so those of you who, I can see someone did say the answer is 0. Okay, and that used to be the right answer until recently, until one of the monkeys decided to Google it to see what would men do. And Google says 1 man jumps, they'll all follow. And monkey says, not a smart thing to do then, yeah? Okay. And of course, some of you are saying the answer is 3, which is actually the right answer. And it's 3 because one of the monkeys decided to jump, didn't actually jump. Yeah. And I think if you think about it, many of us are like that. We are constantly deciding to do things. And I thought I must point this out to you, that one of the mistakes you can make in trying to be a collaborative leader is that you are constantly looking for consensus. You're looking to say, can I get everybody with me? And what can happen then is that you will constantly be planning to do something, because every time you plan, somebody will come up with one reason why it won't work. And then you try to take care of that. And then when you take care of that, somebody will come up with something else, okay? So I think you should be careful. While I think collaborative leadership is a powerful idea, one of the things that you want to watch out for is that you don't become the kind of person who's scared to take decisions, okay? Success comes when you act, okay? So, many of us will say that I have decided to lose weight, right? How many of you decided to lose weight? Lots of you, I'm sure. And then you wonder, I don't know why it's not happening. You won't lose weight because you decided to lose weight. You will lose weight and you do something about it. So I think it's a good idea for all of us to be saying, hey, let's take that Nike formula and just do it. Become a team which has a bias for action, okay? And don't allow yourself or your leadership team or indeed the entire team to get caught up in this thing about saying, oh, we don't have consensus. I want everyone to collaborate. And unless everybody agrees, I will not do it. Because if you wait for everyone to agree, chances are you will never really do very much, okay? Let's move on. And I think there are some things I want to talk about in terms of what can each of you and each of us do to build a people-centric, collaborative kind of organization. What are some of the things that we can actually do to make that happen, okay? And I'm going to try and share some thoughts, some stories, and some simple ideas on what each of us can do to make this happen, okay? And I want to start by sharing something that I learned from a boss of mine, someone who went on to become a mentor in many ways. So this is a man called Suman Sinha. PM Sinha is the official name. Suman is how we all called him. Suman was my boss at Pepsi, and also, as it happens, my boss at Hindustan Lever very early in my career. It's a story about a time when Suman was making a presentation. This is several years ago, and I would imagine what must be about 20, 25, yeah, maybe 20 odd years ago. And Suman was making this presentation, and every corporate presentation typically has a slide which has the org structure, right? The company's organization structure. And of course, that looks something like this. So you've got the CEO on top and the vice presidents below and the general manager, and you and me below that, all of that. Typically, that's what the org structure looks like. And these were the days when you had not these these kind of slides. You had those 35mm camera slides, Kodak, which you'd put into a carousel projector and project it. And when Suman projected the slide, this is what it looked like. And I could swear that some young management trainee will lose his job for putting the slide wrong. Ulta dal diya, guy will lose his job. And just when I was thinking of that, Suman Sinha says, that is the structure of the company that I'm trying to build. The PepsiCo that I'm building will have a structure which is upside down. Okay? On the top of our organization will be our frontline folks. They will be our salespeople who are closest to our customer. Okay? And below them will be a set of managers whose job is to help those salespeople to be able to delight our customers. And below them will be the vice presidents whose job will be to ensure that their entire function, the entire division does whatever it takes to ensure that our salespeople can do whatever we need to do to delight our customers. And he'd say, below all of them is me as a CEO. My job is simple. I just need to make sure that this entire organization is focused on delighting customers. It's focused on helping the front line to do whatever it takes to delight our customers. Now, it's a device, you could say, to flip the organization, but I think it's a powerful device. And it's perhaps the way to start the process of building collaborative leadership in an organization. Because what you're doing here is you're telling people it is not about hierarchy. It's not about bosses. It's not about I will do what my boss says. It is about saying I will do what's right for our customers. I will do what's right for our organization. Okay. And what happens then is that you don't have an organization that is inward looking, everybody looking up for the boss and saying, what does the boss want? Everybody's looking out and saying, what does our customer want? And I think that's what results in a change in the thinking in our leadership, where leaders are not now saying, I have the power, I have 20 people reporting to me. They will say, I have the responsibility. I'm responsible for those 20 people. I must do whatever it takes to support them. And because I have to support them, I now look at that other function and I say, I can use him also to help support the people that we have. So you no longer worry about function, silo, department, division. You start thinking of one organization and you start saying, how can we do whatever it takes to make sure we are achieving our objectives? So I think breaking structure, breaking this whole idea of hierarchy, seniority, respect that guy, I think that should break, and that's what will pave the way for people who will collaborate rather than say one man is the boss and that boss will decide what needs to be done. A second lesson in how do you do this is, I think, to start right. And that's really a lesson. How do you hire people into the organization? How do you hire people into your team? And I want to tell you a story about David Ogilvy, who was this advertising guru who started an agency called Ogilvy. Every time there was a leader who came into a new office, right? Every branch office leader for an Ogilvy office. On his first day, he would find that on his desk was one of these Russian dolls, which you open and inside is a smaller doll, and you open that and there's a smaller one, and you open that and smaller one until you get that little tiny little doll right inside. So David Ogilvy would gift one of these to every new leader. And as the leader opened it and found the other one and opened another one and another one, until he came to the smallest doll, attached to the small doll was a personal note from David Ogilvy. Okay. And on that note were written these words. And it said, if each of us hires people who are smaller than we are, we will become a company of dwarfs. But if each of us hires people who are bigger than we are, we will become a company of giants. And he would then say, let us become a company of giants. Okay. And I think that's such a powerful thought. The mistake many of us make is we don't think collaborative leadership. We think I'm the leader, I need people who report to me. So we like to hire people who make us feel intelligent. We like to hire people, ये बहुत होशियार नहीं है, ये मेरी बात सुनेगा. He will not challenge me. He will not make life difficult for me. That is the kind of yardstick we use in hiring people. What's worse, we hire people like ourselves. Acha, you're also from Allahabad. Oh, so which college, Because I'm also from Allahabad, I love to hire people who look like me, okay? We forget that the organization already has one of you. Why would they want a second one like you? They wouldn't. And a good idea as a leader is to try and hire people better than ourselves and to try and hire people who think differently. Okay? And for many of us, and I'm saying this to all of us here, we can make the mistake of thinking that I know the formula for success because I'm successful. I know what it takes to be successful. And we want people who follow our line. We don't like people who are different. When someone comes in who looks different, thinks different, dresses different, we start saying, fit nahi hoga, culture theek nahi hai. We find reasons to reject people who are not like ourselves. And that's a dangerous place to be. So as a good rule, if you hire lousy people, you will never be able to build collaborative leadership because you will say, usko kuch pata nahi hai. They are waiting for me to decide. And they will all look at you and say, sir, you are so great, sir. You tell us what to do. Okay. And that's not the kind of organization that you want to build. Okay. They say this, A grade teams, A-level teams are built when everyone hires A quality talent, when A quality leaders hire A quality talent. And he says, ordinary teams get built when A category leaders hire B category talent and C category talent. So don't make that mistake, okay? And I think you will discover that this is how you can actually get it right for your organization. I want to share a little story from something I learned from Sourav Ganguly. He'd written a book called A Century Is Not Enough, and I was lucky to host him in a conversation for his book launch in Pune. And one of the questions that we were talking about that day was around, how did he come to back talent? If you talk to a Virendra Sehwag or a Zahir Khan or a Harbhajan Singh, they will tell you how Dada made a difference to their life. Okay, Dada backed them. Sourav Ganguly, if you look at Yuvraj Singh, Sourav Ganguly is his hero because he backed Yuvraj Singh when everybody else was willing to give up on him, and that's what made Dada such a great guy. And I asked him the question, how did you do that? Weren't you scared that people will say, favoritism, or if that fellow doesn't do well, people will say you kept somebody else out of the team? I think Saurav's answer was interesting. He says, very simple. You've got to know your players. You must know your talent. And his point was simple. He says, if you go by the scorecard, you will find some chap has taken lots of wickets or some chap has scored lots of runs, but you have no idea how did he do it. You have no idea on what kind of wicket, against what kind of opposition. And he says a good leader does not depend on selectors or scorecards to tell you how good the talent is. He spends time with that talent. And he said, as a captain, when I saw Harbhajan Singh bowl, I said to myself, man, this guy is super talent. He'll win us matches. And for me, Bhaji was great talent. And that's why I would back him. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us. We need to become a bit like Dada and make sure that we know our people. Okay? We don't always take the trouble of knowing our talent. We probably spend some time with our senior leaders, or we try and get to know the people close to us, but even that only on a professional level. And very often when it comes to promoting somebody or saying how good is the person, we go by the biodata, or we go by the performance appraisal. We don't try and understand what's this person really all about. And I think it's a great idea for, if you want to become a great leader in your team, it's a good idea for you to make sure that you know your people. Okay. I love this story of two-footed footballers. It's another lesson for all of us. They did some research amongst Champions League footballers in Europe. Okay. And here's what they found, that footballers who are two-footed on an average, they earn 28% more than footballers who are good only with 1 foot. Okay. Now, if you're a football fan, you can probably relate to this. Why does this happen? Because, you know, if you're 2-footed, you can play on either flank. So there's more flexibility. If you're 2-footed, you can probably score more goals because when the ball comes to your wrong foot, you don't waste that precious second in pushing it to the right foot. Yeah, you will score more goals perhaps. And therefore, clearly, it's a valuable skill. In fact, they found that you can't teach a Champions League footballer to suddenly become 2-footed. You've got to start early. So there's actually a school in Scotland called the Other Foot Soccer School. And you have all these kids who come wearing a red sock on one leg and a yellow sock on the other. And depending on the day of the week, it's either yellow day or red day. And therefore the kids learn to shoot. It goes wrong, it doesn't matter. They laugh. But because they start using the other foot, it gets stronger. And over time, they become 2-footed. Okay? And I think it's a great lesson for us as leaders. We all have reached where we have because we have one strong foot. We have one skill we are very good at. And what happens to us is we get confined to that one strength. We don't want to develop a second strength. If somebody comes to us something else, then I don't know. Okay, I don't care about that. So the mistake we make is we look at every problem through that one lens that we have. If you look around, you will find good leaders actually have a second foot which is strong. And it's a good idea for all of us to say, how can I strengthen the other foot? Okay. So if you're a chartered accountant, clearly, you know, you understand numbers. They're probably a solid finance guy, but not a bad idea to try and say, you know what, maybe I need to understand something else. And can I become a super tech guy? Can I understand digital and tech better than anyone else? So can I become a super people person? Okay. Can I just take more interest in people and become almost like a part HR head for the firm that I work with? Okay. Or can I understand customers better? And can I understand what does it take to sell? And can I become a slightly better salesperson? So you will find that even if you're a practicing chartered accountant or you're working for a firm, the fact that you are also thinking like a salesman or thinking like an HR person or thinking like an IT guy will just make you so much more powerful, just like those Champions League footballers. So it's a great idea for all of us to strengthen the other foot. What it also does is it makes us respect the other talent that other people might have. Because sometimes we can imagine that the whole world depends on finance and accounts and there is nothing else that matters in the world. Okay. But the minute you learn something else, you realize how difficult it is, you realize how important it is, and you suddenly have newfound respect for what might be happening over there. So I think it's a great idea to try and do that too. Here's something else that I think you must do, and which is to get a coaching mindset. Okay. All of us are very quick to look at other people and say, yeah, acha hai, ye bekar hai, or, you know, I would rate this person's performance as A and somebody else as B and somebody else as C. So we're very quick to judge people on their performance, but we don't always take the time or the effort to help people to get better. So I think good coaches are not just people who will tell you that you're an A or a B, but they will tell you, how do you become an A? How do you help somebody to become a star performer? Remember this, everybody wants to be a star. And as a leader, in some ways, it's our job to make sure that we are helping them to actually just get a little bit better. Okay? And that's something that you might want to do. 2 or 3 other quick ideas. I think it's a good idea to bet on potential. Okay. The mistake some of us make is that we only promote people when they are fully ready, or we only hire people when they are fully ready. So you'll find someone who's very good, 80% there, 85% there, and then you look at him and say, very good, but you know, I don't think he's strategic enough, you know, or I don't think he has handled such a large business, or I don't think he has also handled mergers and acquisitions. So I'm not sure he will get it right. So we are looking for what he has not done. Okay. And I want to tell you the story of this young kid who joined Mumbai Indians in 2015. So I remember in 2015, Kiran More, who was a talent scout for us, and John Wright, who also did some talent scouting, they came to us and said there was this, you know, very exciting young kid from Baroda who had been playing some cricket, and, you know, all-rounder hair, which is already a good thing. And if nothing else, you can get him to bowl at you with the nets. So let's kind of get him into the team. And we got him in. And Ricky Ponting then, of course, saw him, and we saw him play in the nets. And we found he could hit the ball, and no matter who was bowling, he could like tonk the ball and hit sixes like it was nobody's business. And he said, there is something in this kid. And he was fearless. When he had to bowl, he would bowl every ball like his life depended on it. He was super fielder. So now suddenly Ponting gets very excited and gives him a chance to play, and then backs him to succeed. And I remember in a game where we had to save something like 17, we had very few runs. I think some 7 runs or 8 runs in the last over. And who will he bowl? He asked this young kid to bowl, okay? And not a typical Malinga or someone else. And this kid comes in, bowls, and wins the game for us. And Ponting says, no fear. Let this guy try and get it right. And this kid who got all those chances, of course, you might remember, this is Hardik Pandya. And just to tell you what happened, we bought him for 10 lakh in 2015. And before the auction in 2019, we retained him for 9 crores. 10 lakh to 9 crores in 3 years. Okay, that is the power of what young talent can do for you when you get it right. And all I'm saying to you is bet on unripe fruit. Don't wait till they are fully ready. Don't say this, unless this person is all there, I will not take a chance. Take a chance. Because when you take a chance, that person will do whatever they can to surprise you. They will say, wow, here is someone who's taking a chance on me. Here's someone who's counting on me to succeed. I'm going to do everything I can to help them to succeed. Okay. And don't forget, many of us are in our roles today because someone else took a chance on us. Someone else bet on us when we were unripe fruits. Okay. It's our turn to return the favor. So let's make sure that we also do this bit. Here's another quick one for all of you. I think you must find a mentor who's under 25 years of age. Okay. It's actually something that we had to do. When I was running Kimberly-Clark in India, our global CEO asked us to get a mentor. And I think at that time, the thing was to get someone who's under 18 years of age. Okay. And his point was that the future is about those people. They live differently, they think differently, they behave differently. And he says, if you get a mentor like that, they will teach you what your future customers will look like. And it's a good idea to learn from them. And I think it's a great idea for all of us to take someone like this. And what it does is, it also tells you that you don't have all the answers. Okay. You might think you know it all, but these kids will teach you a lot of things that you don't know. It also sends a message to the organization that as a leader, you're not putting a premium on seniority and experience. You're willing to say, hey, there are young people here who might have better ideas than some of us do. They might have a better idea of how to do things. Okay. And this is how collaboration starts to happen, where everyone in the team starts to think, hey, my voice will be heard. I have a leader who will count on my advice, on my views will count. And that's really something that you can actually make happen for you. It also tells you that you're a leader who's respecting other people, respecting different views, respecting different skills. And I think that's a powerful way to build a leadership team, which is not all people who look alike and think alike, but people who think different. Okay, one more quick thing that you can do as a leader is to put you before C. Okay, and what I mean by that really is to say, understand before you try and convince other people. Okay, what happens to all of us is that when we have a view, we are very quick to try and convince other people that we are right. We don't try and understand why is someone saying something else. Okay, so it's a great lesson, a simple lesson to have. Just put it in your head, you before C. So every time there's a difference of opinion, every time there's a divided opinion on what should we do, or and if someone says A, someone says B, you should be telling yourself, remember, you before C. Understand the other person before you try and convince the other person. I want to switch your attention now to teams. And I love this line from a man called Pat Lencioni. I'm doing a quick time check. Yep, we are in good time. Pat Lencioni says that it's not finance, it's not strategy, not technology. Teamwork will be the ultimate competitive advantage. Okay, it's a powerful line. And as Lencioni puts it, Teamwork will be the ultimate competitive advantage, both because it's so powerful and because it is so rare in organizations. And I think what we all want to do is to say, how can we leverage the power of teamwork? How can we get teamwork to work for us in our organizations? And I think Lencioni wrote a book, and it's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And what he says is that typically there are 5 problems or 5 dysfunctions that prevent a team from becoming as good as it can be. And if you can overcome those 5 dysfunctions, there's a good chance that you will find success. So I want to try and share with you what those 5 dysfunctions are. And here they are. The first one at the bottom is absence of trust. So trust is at the foundation of great teams. You need to trust each other. People need to trust each other for it to become a great team. Okay. If there is no trust, if there is an absence of trust, what will happen is people will be scared to conflict. There'll be fear of conflict. People will be scared to disagree because they are worried. If I say, you know, you're not doing your job, you will turn around and say, you're not doing your job. If I find fault with you, you will find fault with me. So better to just quietly say, agree and go away. So this is what happens, right? People will, on the surface, there will be harmony, artificial harmony. People will say, oh, very nice. Oh, you're doing a good job. I'm doing a good job. Everybody's happy. Not a good place to be. You want people to challenge each other. You want people to speak up if they disagree. And I think you need conflict. But what happens is, in a team where there's no trust, there is a fear of conflict. When there's a fear of conflict, there is a lack of commitment, which really means that everybody shakes their head in the meeting, in the conference room. And then when they go out, they say, what a stupid idea. It's not going to work. And, you know, we just go back and do what we wanted to do, but nobody speaks up. And therefore, no one is committing to that action. Because you don't commit, you don't take accountability, right? So when you come back after 4 weeks and someone says, you know, we agreed to do this, you say, agreed? We never agreed. I heard you say it. I didn't agree, right? So no one takes accountability. We don't hold each other accountable. And when there's no accountability, what will happen is that there will be inattention to results. People will worry about confirming that my team did this job. We are not bothered about whether the larger goal was met. We are protecting our backside and saying, so long as nobody can find fault with us, we are okay. And that's what we need to do. We are not worried about, did it happen for us as a team? We are worried about, did it happen for me, for my function, for my division? And these then are the 5 dysfunctions. And if you flip it, it basically says that the way to get it right for a team is to build trust within the team so that, you know, that's what happens. When people don't have the fear of being vulnerable, that's what will happen. And when you do that, you will have productive conflict. People will fight, people will disagree, which is not a bad thing, because once they finish the conflict, they will be committed to the decision that we take. And once you commit, you will find that there is accountability. People hold each other accountable to a higher standard, and that will help us to get great results. I think it's a powerful model. And you want to say, how do we ensure that these 5 traits become what defines us, what defines our team? Okay. And I like this idea of saying that, you know, it's vulnerability which actually builds trust. Okay. And since that's the foundation of this entire pyramid, it's a good one to try and take on board. Vulnerability is when you are willing to share your vulnerability, when you're willing to say, I don't know, or you're willing to say, I think I made a mistake. The minute you do that, you build trust. Some of us think that, oh no, I'm a leader. I have to build this facade of perfect. I am Superman. I can do no wrong. I'm Mr. Perfect. Okay? You don't need to do that. If you do that, people are scared to make mistakes. People are scared to admit that there's a problem. Because they're scared to admit there's a problem, if there's a problem, they quickly cover it up so that nobody sees the problem. And because nobody sees the problem, nobody does anything about it till it becomes a huge problem and blows up in your face. So the way to get it right as a leader is start by being vulnerable. Share your vulnerability. Talk about failure. Talk about mistakes. Talk about things you've learned. Talk about things you don't know. And when you do that, your team starts saying, wow, this guy is human here. You know, I like this person. I'll trust this guy. And that's how you will start to build trust. I want to give you an example of what it takes to build great teams by looking at a great team. Okay. And this is really one of the time when India had these 5 superstars in the team, and we were a fabulous cricket team. We had Sachin and Sourav and Rahul and BVS and Sehwag. It was also the time when we had a problem, which is that it was popularly called the late Latif problem. And what was happening was that, every time someone or the other, one of these superstars would be late. So if the bus is ready to leave the hotel at 8:15 to reach the ground, 8:15, everybody is in the bus except one player. One of these superstars is not there. And because that person is not there, everybody is now waiting. Collective time is being wasted. And because that person comes late, the bus leaves late. Because the bus leaves late, we reach the ground late, and therefore the nets are shortened. Because nets are shortened, one batsman probably doesn't get a chance to bat in the nets. So it's unfair. And around this time, this is when Anil Kumble became captain of the Indian team. And, good South Indian engineer, no nonsense kind of fellow. He comes in and he says, I think there's a problem here which we need to set right. And what Anil Kumble does is he comes up with a rule, and he says, here's the rule. If any player is late, he will have to pay a penalty of 10,000 rupees. Now, these are rich cricketers, but nobody likes to pay money for nothing, right? So suddenly everybody starts coming on time. Sachin Tendulkar doesn't say that I had a call from the president of India, and VVS Lakshman doesn't say, kya hona, lift did not stop on my floor. No problem. Everybody starts coming on time. And I think this is a good lesson. As a leader, it's good to call out a problem in the team. If somebody is doing something which is not good for the team, you need to be able to call it out. Okay, and that's really what Anil Kumble did at this stage. Okay, but here's the interesting bit. After a few days, one of the players was late. And when he was late, after a few days, somebody else was late. And then very quickly, it was back to good old times. And people were paying up the fine and coming late. But this is the time when the test matches ended. And Anil Kumble, of course, was only captain for the test series. For the one day, Dhoni was captain. So Dhoni comes back. And before the first one-day game, what happens is, of course, they have a team meeting and they've discussed tactics and strategy and everything. And then before the meeting ends, Dhoni says, "Arey haan, ek aur baat hai. Anil Bhai had brought this rule of that penalty of 10,000 rupees, but clearly it's not working for us because, we're back to people being late. I don't think it's fair." So Dhoni says, I'm just changing the rule a little bit. And the new rule which he introduced was this. Dhoni's rule is that if any player is late, everyone will pay a penalty of 10,000 rupees. And suddenly, everyone's on time. And I'm told up till now, nobody ever comes late because Dhoni's rule still holds good. And I think there's a lesson in it for all of us. I think in truly great teams, every member takes responsibility for what's happening, good or bad. It's no longer about saying who did it. It's no longer about saying who caused the problem. It's about saying, hey, we have a problem. We need to do something. So if there is something good happening, we will celebrate. If there is something bad, we will feel the pain of something not happening. Okay. And I think it's a great idea for all of us to try and say, what is our equivalent of Dhoni's 10,000 rupee rule? And if we can find that, I'm guessing we can also try and say, how do we build out this collective responsibility? As we come to an end, and like I said, I'm happy to take questions, but before we come to an end, I was just thinking to myself that it's such a lovely opportunity to be speaking to, to so many interesting people in a place far away. And I thought to myself, it would be so nice if I could actually, this is the era of tools and gadgets. And it would be so nice if I could leave you with a tool which could remind you of some of the lessons that can help you to become a collaborative leader, to become a great leader, to build a fantastic team. So what I have with me is a little tool, which I want to share with you. And it's a little tool that can teach us everything that we need to learn about being a great leader. And that's in my hand over here. It's actually a tea bag, okay? And some of you might wonder, what can a tea bag teach you about leadership? But that's really what I'm going to try and do. It's a little device that can, I think, teach us some of the lessons that we all need to learn about being good leaders. So let me start with the first one. And here it is. Leaders are like tea bags. Put them in hot water and you'll know how strong they really are. I think it's interesting. In good times, everybody's a good leader. Okay. Outside, all tea bags look the same. You can't tell the difference. So only when you put the tea bag in hot water that you'll know how strong it really is. And that's true for all of us as leaders. Okay? It's only when there's a challenge, when there's a crisis or a problem, that's when you have a chance to show what a good leader you are. And remember this, no tea bag ever said, oh my goodness, I'm not going into the water, I'll get burned. They said, wow, hot water? Here's my chance to show what a good tea bag I am. And I think that's something all of us can learn to do. Lesson number 2, tea bags need to be porous. You might have the best tea inside the bag, but if the bag is not porous, right, the water will not come in touch with the tea inside. If that doesn't happen, you won't get a great cup of tea. And I think it's important for all of us to remember that we need to communicate. We need to reach out. We need to be the kind of people who share our knowledge, share our insights, and learn from the people around us. So it's important, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much intelligence and knowledge you have inside you, the bag has got to be porous for it to be effective. Lesson number 3, there's no rule which says that the tea bag has to be at the top of the cup for it to work. It can be anywhere in the cup, it'll work. Okay? And that's true for our organizations. There's no rule that leaders are only the people at the top. Leaders are everywhere in the organization. And you want to be able to say, hey, find those leaders, look for opportunities, look for leaders right where they are. And for some of us, it's also a good message. Don't wait till you get to, don't say, when I become a leader, I will show you what a good leader I am. Your chance to show your leadership is right now. Lesson number 4, sometimes one tea bag is just not enough. The cup is so large that one tea bag is not enough. You need a second tea bag. Okay? And some of us make the mistake of saying, no, 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 this is my cup. I will take care of it. How dare you come and interfere? Okay, you mind your own business. Okay. And then what happens is that because it's such a large cup and we have one tea bag, we are not able to do a good job. And then at the end, it's a very bad cup of tea. And then we say, but what did you expect? I tried my best. I was alone. I had to do it all by myself. Rubbish. Remember this. Good leaders learn to work with other leaders. Become the kind of tea bag which welcomes other tea bags into the cup. Okay. You cannot do it alone. And your job is to reach out and ask for help. Sometimes to make a cup of tea with milk and sugar, you need milk and sugar. Okay? You can't be saying, no, no, this is my cup of tea. I will stay like this. No milk, no sugar. So reach out and ask for help. Lesson number 5, remember this, someone else holds the string at all times. Okay? You may be the best tea bag in the world, but somebody else can decide that, hey, I don't like you and throw you out. Okay? Be careful. It's good to respect that. Be humble. Never start thinking you're so powerful that you can do whatever you feel like. Okay, you're answerable. You're answerable to, to the board, to your bosses, to your customers, to God, to family, whoever. But you're answerable. So never behave as if you are all powerful. Okay. And the 6th one, and really my favorite, is this. Remember, nobody ever drank a cup of tea and then said, "Wow, that was a very good tea bag." They would say that was good tea. Okay. So it's all about how good the tea is, not how good the tea bag was. So don't try to be recognized as what a great leader this was or what a great man this was. You've got to be, people must say, wow, what a great job he did. What a great organization he built. Look at the impact he had on the people he worked with. That is what success is. Remember, nobody is going to say, wow, that was a great cup of tea. And that brings me to the last lesson for the day, which is really this. Eventually, tea bags need to make way and get out. Okay. Some of us can start thinking, no, you have no idea. When I came here, it was just a cup of water. I came in and I made it tea. If I go away, it will become water again. It won't. Okay. Sometimes for the tea to be enjoyed, the tea bag needs to go. And I think you need to live your life. You need to make a career knowing that when you're gone, and one day you will be gone, things will only get better. You've got to give other people a chance. Don't try and hold on to a position simply because you need to be there. Remember, you are meant to do something else in your life. So keep moving and make sure other people get a chance to do what you once did. So that's really the lessons I want to share from the tea bag. And I'm hoping that the next time you have a cup of tea, hopefully you'll remember and say, I think there's a lesson that we can all learn from here. So I want to pause now. And before I end, I want to leave you with one little quote. It's a line that I like a hell of a lot, which is relevant to our times. And the quote says, in times of change, learners will inherit the earth, while the learned will find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Okay, I think it's a risk for all of us. So it's not about trying to live in the past, it's about living in the future. So learn to change, learn to get better. And I think if you do that, I'm sure you will continue to find success in your life. So that's all I have for you right now. And like I said earlier, thank you so much for being a patient audience. And we have time for questions. And I'm more than happy to try and take on those questions.
Thanks, Mr. Iyer. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session. I think not only you threw light on the collaborative leadership through great examples, but I think in times of lockdown, you've also taken us through a lot many places across the globe. I think we started with Mount Everest. We went to the Hudson River in the US. We met Mr. Velu on the outskirts of Chennai. I think we interacted with Ricky Ponting on the fields of Wankhede Stadium. We met Mr. Sinha from Pepsi. I think we saw 3 monkeys on the tree as well. And I think you ended well with MS Dhoni's 10,000 rule, as well as the lessons which we get from the tea bag. So thanks a lot for the wonderful session, sir. And as you suggested, we'll take a question. So let me just check the chat box. I would request all the members that in case they have any questions, you can please put it on the chat box.
So do you want me to just take the question and start answering them from the chat?
Yeah, so I was just going through the chat box. So we have something from Mr. Virendra Sharma. If team members, do you want me to read the questions so that everybody can know the questions which we are addressing? Would that be appropriate?
Sure. So I'll leave it to you to pick the questions. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a question. If team members think collectively that their leader is on the wrong path, how to convey convincingly to him or her?
Yeah. So I have a simple theory on this, Virendra, which is that bad leaders can't stay forever. Okay? We will all sometimes struggle with a bad leader. And I think if you can go on mute, whoever is not on mute, just unmute yourself when you need to. That might help. Thank you. Yeah, so I think there's a good theory which says that in strong organizations, bad leaders get automatically ejected. Okay, they get ejected by the pressure from the people under that bad leader. So I would say that the way to do it is that I think you must give feedback to leaders and you must not be scared. And generally speaking, that works. And if the leader doesn't correct himself or herself, sooner or later that leader will have to move. So I would probably say that don't worry too much about it, but don't do the wrong thing. Don't keep quiet. And if you have an opportunity, you must speak up and give feedback.
Sure. Let me take the next question.
Yep.
I think Mr. Rahul Rastogi has asked, he wants to ask a question. Sir, if you could please type in the question. Meanwhile, there's another question from Mr. Mani Lakshmanamurthy. How to deal with a leader who does not follow all what you said? I think it's more or less in line with the, if you'd like to address that.
Yeah, I'll quickly try to address that, which is, I think we all tend to look at other people like this. Our first objective is to make sure we are not leaders like that. Okay. And I think very often we are quick to try and say that person is not like this. That's the problem. Don't worry. We can make a huge difference to this world if each of us starts getting it right. Okay. And I think whatever Gandhiji's line is still valid, be the change that you want to see. And I think if each of us can start doing it very quickly, I think things will happen. I've also seen this, that, you know, when people talk about organizations and organization culture, to a person, typically culture is not necessarily what happens in, if there are, you know, in 10,000 people in the company, what does the boss do and what does the CEO do? Rubbish. For him or her, the culture is what does my boss do? And if I'm responsible for 4 people in my organization, those 4 people will see culture as what I do. And if I can set the right culture, they will say, you know, great company, lovely boss to work for, very good place to be, right? It's not about what is happening in the rest of the organization. It's about that leader. My suggestion to all of us, and this is really what I try and do, is to say, let's all become that kind of leader that we always wanted. We were not always lucky. We didn't get that leader, but maybe if we've learned something, let us now get it right. That's what we should try and do.
Bhavin, you are on mute.
You know, I can make it simpler for Bhavin.
No, so I'll just, yeah, sure. So this is a question from Raghu Iyer. Can you please give your insight on how a manager transits to become a leader?
How a manager transits to be a leader. I think,
Yeah.
I would probably say, don't worry about the title. You don't have to be even called a manager. You just have to try and think like a leader. And for me, thinking like a leader really does 2 or 3 things. The first is, don't think about yourself, think about the team, okay? Good leaders are people who recognize that, hey, it's not about how can I succeed or how can I get those people to help me succeed, but a good leader starts saying, how can I help them succeed? What can I do to help them realize their goals? And if you do that, you will find that if you can help a lot of other people realize their goals, your goals are automatically taken care of. I think that can become a very, very powerful switch. That's a powerful switch that you can make. The second thing that you want to do over here is to try and say that, look, I'm never alone, okay? A manager tends to think that I must have the answers, I must be able to do it. And very often in organizations particularly, we get promoted because we are doing a good job, okay? And because you're doing a good job, you think there's pressure on you to keep doing a good job and you have to do it, you have to do it. Very often we are individual contributors, and then you suddenly become a leader, but you forget that now you have a team and you still think you have to do it yourself, okay? And that's a mistake we can make. Sometimes, you know, it's like if in your business, you might be a fabulous chartered accountant and you can see things that young, you know, intern or young chartered accountants don't see. So when they make a mistake, you can say, hey, you don't know what to do. Let me tell you how to do it, or let me tell you what to do. And you do it for them. Or you say, why waste time? You know, don't do it. I will do it. That's a bad way to do it. I think you have to train them. You have to help them. You have to allow them to make mistakes and then try and help them to get it right, because that's how they will learn. If you keep doing it yourself, they will never learn. So having this focus on other people, having this focus on saying, I'm not alone, I can leverage the power of my team, and having a focus which says, how can I help other people get better? When you start thinking like this, I think you start thinking like a leader, and that's when the transformation happens. I hope that helps, Raghu.
Mr. Iyer, the next question is, it's good to motivate the non-performing members of your team, but still if the performance does not come, till how long do we carry the dead weight in our team? When is the time to take a call?
Yeah. So I think you should never carry dead weight in your team. That's not the intention. The problem for many of us is we are very quick to declare something as dead weight. Okay. We don't give talent a chance. And therefore, my first rule of the book is hire good people. Okay. And we are all responsible for hiring the people into our organization. We are very quick to blame other people and say they hired badly. Okay. But when it comes to our turn to hire also, we are quick to delegate it to HR. Or when that person comes for an interview, we tell the junior person to go and interview and say, you know, you decide. I'm very busy doing more important things. There is nothing more important than the quality of people who will come to work for you. So I think it's a good idea to hire good people. It's a good idea to motivate people to do well. Okay. Now, motivation has nothing to do with changing your standard of performance. Okay. Don't lower your bar. Don't lower your expectations. Motivating basically means telling people that you believe in them, that you are committed to their success, and that you will want to help them succeed. That's it. It does not mean that when a person does a bad job or makes a mistake, you say, "Arey, very well done. Never mind, you tried hard." That's not motivation. Okay. The worst thing you can do to a person is to tell him or her, "Well done," when the person knows he could have done better. The worst thing you can do for them is say, "Good job," when they know they could have done a better job. So don't make that mistake. That's not motivation. Okay. Set high standards, encourage them to do well, enable them to do well, give them a chance. But if after that you find that they are not able to deliver, try and understand the problem and then get rid of it. Okay. It's not to say that you should carry them. Maybe they're good for some other role and you need to move them to another role. Maybe they're good for a lower role. Maybe you need to move them there. Okay. But as an organization and as a leader, you would be failing your team if you carry dead weight. So don't carry dead weight.
So the next question is from a chartered accountant who's also a poet. And obviously the question is pretty philosophical. In the long term, everyone dies. The life is very short term. So think what benefits instantly. Does this theory appear to hold good in today's corporate world? This is a question from our member, Mr. Kapil Batra.
Yeah, Kapilji is obviously a fan of Keynes to say that in the long run, we are all dead. But I don't think you should worry so much about the long run, because someone said, there's a disturbance, but never mind. In the long run, we may be all dead, but eventually long run is a series of short runs. So I think it's a good idea to try and say, how can I get it right? Everybody has some run, give people time, but don't be so patient that you are not in a hurry to try and see what happens. I think it's also making a difference. I like the idea of in the long run, we're all dead, because at the end, no one's going to care. When a man is dead at his funeral, nobody says he was such a good man. He had 3 flats in Mumbai. Nobody's going to say that. They're going to say, wow, he was a good man. He made a difference to my life. Okay. He did something which touched me. And that, I think, is what good leaders remember to do. It's one thing to say, nobody's going to say you're such a good leader. He delivered, extra $2 million extra profit in that year. No one's going to say it. People are going to talk about what you did for them, how you made them feel, how you made them better. And that is a series of short terms that you want to try and take care of right now.
Yeah. The next question is, it's a little bit longer question. A lot of leaders pull you down. Sometimes you even lose your job due to them, and in the end you are out. So what do? You never know about leaders before joining. You know about them only after working with them.
So I think like you would do diligence on an acquisition, it's not a bad idea to do some due diligence before you join an organization. Try and check for bosses, try and check with subordinates, try and look them up on social media, check out his profile on LinkedIn, check out what people have said, look at his Facebook profile. These days, there is so much out there that you can get some sense of what kind of person it is. And I think it's not a bad idea to do your homework. The second thing to remember is that by and large, you've got to bet that people are good. Never doubt intent. Okay. If you think people are good, you will start working towards that, and you will try and say, "Yaar, aakhir boss hai na, kuch to acha kiya hoga." That is why he's become boss. So very often we are quick to say he doesn't like me, he's a bad boss. Okay. And I'd probably wait. Don't go there too quickly. Give people a chance. And hope that you get it right. And I think in the end, nothing is permanent. Like somebody said, in the long run, we are all dead. And for bosses and leaders, long run happens faster. So maybe the guy will go away before you go away. So keep the faith. You do your job. You try and communicate with the leader. Try and ask him, it's one of the mistakes we make at work is we are scared to talk. We don't confront issues. We let it lie there and we hope that the elephant in the room will go away on his own. So if you find you have a problem with your boss, sit him down and say, I'm struggling with this, or that I'm not enjoying it. And I sometimes get a feeling that you don't like the work I'm doing, or you don't really think I'm doing a great job. And I'm very keen to get it right. So tell me, what should I do differently? Or I sometimes feel help that I don't get the help I need. And maybe you don't mean it, because I know you're not that kind of person, but I thought I should tell you I have a problem. So if you talk about a problem, you're closer to finding a solution than if you bitch with your friends, and you meet on Friday or Thursday night with your friends and you say, what a lousy boss we have. And you both drink together in misery, in the shared misery of saying, what a lousy boss we have. Yeah. Don't let that happen. I just want to answer a question that I saw about. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're coming to the last 3 questions for the day. So one of the question is, number of times in the organization we come across people who either question us or who disagree with us. So how to develop that attitude where you can learn to accept disagreement?
I think it starts early, and many of us don't realize it, that how often do you allow disagreement in your own family? Okay. And you will be surprised when you figure that, somebody says, where should we go for a meal? And you'll probably say, let's go to the Indian restaurant. And your child might say, let's go to that Chinese place. No, Chinese is bad in these days. Let's not do Chinese. Maybe we'll go to the pizza place. And you say, no, let's go to Indian. That's a useless place. This is a good place. So we form opinions very quickly. We don't listen to other people enough. So a good way to do that is to allow disagreement at every stage. I'll give you a piece of advice which might help to get this going. If you're a leader of a team and you're trying to take a decision, you should speak last. Okay? If you speak first, so for example, if the question is, what should we do? And you have a choice between doing A or doing B. If you're the leader, you say, I think we should do A. Everybody is under pressure now to fall in line with the boss, because the boss has already said we should do A. So even if I think we should do B, I start thinking, why take a chance? Why take panga with the boss? Just say A and let's get on with it. So don't let that happen. If you're a leader and you're trying to take a decision, speak last. Let people speak up. So now there's no fear. The first person who speaks up might say A, and somebody else will say, I disagree with him. Yeah, I think we should do B. And then somebody else will say, no, I think it's right. And somebody will say, no, I think we should do B. So now people are speaking up without fear of being on the boss's right side or not being on the boss's right side. Nobody knows. That's a great way to do it. And now you should also have a mind which is open. And even though you might have come into the meeting thinking, I think I need to do A, you should listen to B as if, wow, I never thought of it. Ask questions, try and understand, and then take a call. And that's a good way to build a culture in the organization where people are willing to speak up. What happens to many of us is that we only want to speak up when it's something very big. Everything is a matter of life and death and big decisions. And then we say nobody listens. Okay. You can't suddenly get people to listen. So the way to do that is to start doing it when there are simple things to be done, simple decisions to be taken. And that's when I think you can build a culture which is more open, where people speak up.
Mr. Iyer, the last question for the day, and it comes from our chairperson only. I would request him if you could personally ask the question to you.
Good evening, Prakash ji. I hope you can hear me.
I can, Mahesh, please.
I'll directly jump into the question while I reserve the praise at the last. Prakash ji, I read your write-up on Hanlon's razor, and I tried to adopt that since that day onwards, whether it's on my professional field or whether it is my home front. Not that I had great success adopting that, but I wanted you to share whether this philosophy or whether this concept can still work, and whether maybe the benefits of that might come in the long run.
Okay. So Mahesh, thanks for asking me that question, and thanks also for having me do this session with all of you and a chance to meet so many people. So just to quickly recap for the people who may not have read that, so I'll just tell you what Hanlon's razor is. Hanlon's razor is a mental model. It's like a way of thinking. It's a mindset kind of thing. So it's a tool that helps you to think better. Okay. And I love it. I think it's a very powerful model. It's worked for me and I want to share it with you now. What Hanlon's razor says is never attribute to malice that which can be explained adequately by negligence or stupidity. Okay, it sounds complicated. Never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by negligence. What it basically says is, don't try and attribute a motive of that person did this deliberately to hurt me. Chances are, galti ho gaya. Okay, and a simple example of this would be that, you go and buy bananas and come home and you paid for a dozen bananas, you come home and you find there are only 11. And you start saying, yeah, all these fruit vendors are chore, you cannot trust them at all. You have to be very careful. And someone says, not just fruit vendors, that entire market. And then the guy says, acha, that person from this country, oh, that country, everybody is a chore, right? Why? Because that guy gave you 11 bananas instead of 12. And my theory on this is, galti ho gaya yaar. Just tell yourself, poor fellow must have counted wrong. That's all there is to it. And if you do that, you will be a happier person. Because chances are, more often than not, people are making mistakes. It is far more likely that he counted wrong than that he had this evil intent that he will give you one banana less with which he will build a bungalow in his house, hometown or wherever. Okay, doesn't happen. But what the mistake we all make is we are very quick to attribute motives. I've seen this happen. Every time something goes wrong, you feel hard done by. Your feeling is, I know why he did it. I know he doesn't like me. I know that person is doing this, and that creates a lot of unnecessary tension in your life. And because it creates unnecessary tension, you also decide to kind of take revenge. So what happens is that you will start doing something wrong consciously because you want to take revenge on that person because you attributed motive to it. And now that relationship starts to tear apart. Okay, things start going wrong. Why? All because of a mistaken notion that that person did it on purpose. That person made a silly mistake. And now because of that silly mistake, you have created a hell for yourself. You don't trust him. You don't trust that person. You drive 5 extra kilometers to buy bananas and you waste half an hour in counting the banana 3 times just to make sure it is 12. Give it to your son to say, now you count. Unnecessary. Unnecessary. So all I say is Hanlon's razor is a great way to bring happiness into your life and to also create a culture of trust where you're forgiving. You're assuming that the world is a good place. You're assuming people are trying to help you. People are not out to get you. People are not out to ruin you. Okay. If you start thinking like that, I think your world will become a better place. And that's really what Hanlon's razor, Mahesh, is all about.
Thank you, Prakashji. Back to you, Bhavin.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Iyer, for the wonderful session. Now I may please request our chairperson to present our virtual token of appreciation and felicitate Mr. Prakash Iyer. Mahesh, over to you.
Prakashji, you're on mute.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Prakashji, for accepting our invitation and addressing our members. Bhavin mentioned that the climax of an IPL or a climax of a movie is the most interesting part after having waited for about 8 hours in a one-day international, for about 3 hours in an ODI. So our members have been with us in this journey for the last 1 year. And before we went into a virtual mode, we always used to have physical meetings. And in the physical meetings, there used to be a buffet, and at the end of the buffet, there's a dessert. Now, no matter how good the spread was in the buffet, if the dessert was not good, then no matter how good even the content of the technical presentation was, if the dessert was not good, the feedback is always that, the food was not good, or perhaps the dessert was not good. So today, Prakashji, as we end our year, your session was like a dessert for me. We have come a long way in the last 1 year. And, one of the most liked dessert in our events every time is in demand is the rasmalai. And the fact is, although we give a heads up to the hotel guys that, the rasmalai gets over very fast, please ensure you have sufficient quantity. there's hardly anything left, and we end up drinking more or less only the rust at the end. So your session, Prakash ji, was like that dessert, which I am sure the members who joined today will remember for days or months to come. And of course, they will have to perhaps take the learnings from your lessons sessions today and start implementing it on their day-to-day professional and social life, Prakash ji. So thank you very much again, and wonderful having you. I hope you were able to see the virtual certificate that we presented. And,
I did. Thank you so much.
Maybe in future we would be definitely having a physical session with you in Bahrain, sir.
Thank you so much, Maheshji. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure talking to all of you. And certainly look forward to someday being with all of you in Bahrain. But till then, I guess this has been an absolute pleasure talking to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Iyer. As Mahesh said, this is the last session which we are going to organize for the current term. And from tomorrow, the new executive committee takes over for the year 2020-21. So had it been a physical meeting, we would have the entire ExCom committee members present and share that how have their journey been over the period of last 12 months. We would request that if any of the ExCom members are present, probably if within 60 to 90 seconds, they would like to sum up the journey of the last 12 months and share some of their rich or poor experiences with all the members on the forum. We'll restrict it to 60 to 90 seconds, considering the overall time frame, and will not use more than 10 minutes for the remaining session. This will be followed with a vote of thanks and the raffle straw.
Prakash ji, I know it's a bit late in India at this point in time. So in case you need to catch up on something, feel free, or you can stay with us for maybe another 10 minutes.
I'll leave it to you. I can go off now. That's good.
All right, Prakash ji, have a good evening, and hope to see you in future. And
thank you.
Before everybody departs, give a big round of applause to Mahesh and his team and to Mr. Prakash Iyer. Big salute to you, sir. A really good finish, like Captain Dhoni.
Well done.
Right. So as Bhavin requested, the executive committee members who are available to share their experiences of being part of this wonderful journey for the last 1 year before we start getting people dropping off the call. Bhavin, you want to take the lead?
Yeah, it's fine. Let me just share some of my experiences. So I've been in Bahrain for close to 3 years, and less than 3 years, in fact. And out of that 2 years, I've been in the ExCom. So from tomorrow onwards, it would be a very different life for me now. I'm thankful to all the BCICAI members for giving me the opportunity to serve the chapter for 2 years back to back. It's been 2 fantastic years of learning, serving, getting new friends, and at the same time having a lot of fun. Thanks to Chairperson Mahesh and the entire executive committee for the wonderful support which you have extended. I wish all the best to the incoming executive committee, and with an assurance that whenever and wherever required, I will always be available in whichever capacity I can serve the chapter. Once again, thanks a lot to all the members, to the chairperson, and to the executive committee members for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavin. Can we have Raghunathan from India? Can you please share your thoughts in just about under a minute, Raghunathan? Not sure Raghunathan is available. Raghu, if you're not there, then I will switch over to Garvita. Okay, so Garvita seems to be also not available around.
I'm
Raghuji?
there, but I think Raghuji, Raghunathan is there. I can see him.
Right. He will step in once you're done. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So my journey in ExCom started 2 years ago when BCI.
Can you speak a bit louder?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, very much.
Is it? Yeah.
That's how we like to hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was saying that my journey in XCOM started 2 years ago when BCICI elected the committee members through an election process, which was the first ever election in history of BCICI. And I was just around 1 year old in Bahrain, whereas my competitors had been in the island for around 10 to 15 years. So obviously, their network strength was much higher than me. Then I was told that each participant will be given just 2 minutes to speak about their candidature on the date of election. I gave my speech, and result was supposed to be declared on the same day. I still remember it was around 12 midnight, and I was so tired with zero enthusiasm left in me that I was sitting right at the back, whereas everyone was eagerly thronged towards the stage to know the final results. And my name was announced. It was unbelievable and one of the happiest moments for me. After this, I got so many messages from different members saying that it was my speech which made them change their mind. My speech had really touched the audience, and that was the moment where my life skill journey began. I have learned so much from each and every member of the committee during my 2 years term. I joined under the able leadership of Sridharji, from whom the best learning I got: no matter how much you achieve in life, one has to be always grounded and remain down to earth. And my journey continued under visionary chairperson, CA Mahesh Kumar Ryan. He always wanted to do something new in every event and make each and every event a landmark in history of BCICI. He has made it a point during his term that today's webinar theme of collaborative leadership is practiced thoroughly among the committee members. These 2 years have really been lifelong learning experience, which I will surely cherish in my lifetime. And I will end this with a quote in Hindi. मंजिल मिले ना मिले ये तो मुकद्दर की बात है, हम कोशिश भी ना करें ये तो गलत बात है. Whether you will reach your destination or not, it depends on your destiny, but if we don't give it a try also, that is completely wrong. Thank you. Over to you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Garvita. Raghunathan, if you are here, please identify yourself through audio or video and share your experience.
Yes, Mahesh, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu.
First of all, thank you all executive committee and the members of BCICI. It was an excellent year. I was in the committee 10 years back as a treasurer, and as a joint secretary last 1 year. It's a great experience, different experience. And 2008 and 9 was a different year where the institute Bahrain chapter lifted its status greatly under the leadership of CA Balu. And again, after 10 years, I have seen another great leader lifting into different state. Yes, the theme of the year stated like conquering new frontiers. I hope we have conquered a lot of new frontiers, different experience, actual seminars, virtual seminars, webinars, and webinar family day. It was a great year, despite all issues and problems. But thanks to the technology, which has helped us, conquering many more new frontiers. And it was a very great pleasure working with Mahesh. As he is a visionary leader. There are many skills we learned from him, and each and every EXCO member, they have different talents, and it was a very good experience. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue next year for some other personal reasons, but it was a wonderful experience, and still available for the chapter to contribute in any capacity as a volunteer. And if I talk about each EXCOM, this won't be enough. I think probably I need another half an hour. So considering the time frame, I concluded. And thanks to all the BCIC members for giving me this great opportunity. Thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Raghu. We have Chetan Dongra online. Chetan? Bhavin, can you find out if Chetan is there? Right, so till Chetan comes in, I think we will call upon Jagdish.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you audible? No?
Yes, Jagdish.
Yeah. Good evening, members. Today, BCSA is witnessing one more transition from tomorrow, that is moving responsibility from one committee to another. As a first-timer in ESCOM, initially I was not sure whether I will be able to fulfill the commitment. But really, thanks to our chairperson and other ESCOM member who are given great confidence and with their support and guidance, I will commitment to the acceptable extent, I think. During this dinner, I have developed various skills from under the ESCOM, like organizing, planning, working as a team from the committees, etc. And one main skill from our visionary chairperson as to how to follow up with someone to get the job done. That is a unique skill for our chairperson, and he has succeeded on this. Under this theme, Conquer New Frontier, we have conquered new things like webinar, previously whatever our colleagues have said. We have achieved virtual family day, webinars, and so many things. And our chairpersons want always new frontier from everything, each and everything. Like when we started the last year term, we are reachable only few members through social media. And today, if you notice, almost half of our members strength are reachable through our social media, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so many things. And it's a very great opportunity to work under this team. And once again, I thanks to our chairperson and others to give great opportunity and to serve our respected professional body. And all the very best to our new committee under the new leadership, Chairperson CA Ajay. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Jagdish. I request our treasurer, Raghu Ji, to please summarize his experience of being part of this executive committee, given the fact that he was part of a previous executive committee under an extremely dynamic and versatile and a go-getter. So, Raghuji, up to you, please.
Thank you, Chairperson Mahesh, and thank you, team.
Can you be a bit more louder?
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson Mahesh, and thank you, my dear team, without whom I don't think we would have carried so many and conquered new frontiers this year. Right from coining the theme for the year to the last event, what transition happened or what changes happened was this theme was, more democratic, more kind of, open to criticism. And that's what something which I really appreciated with Mahesh. He was very forthcoming. He wanted critical review of every program that he wanted, that he organized, and definitely we gave our feedback one to one. And there has been so much of improvement over the period that I could see in the last 12 months. My thanks to CA Uday, our past chairperson, who initiated and pushed me into this committee, and thanks to Mahesh for accepting me. Everyone speaks about the team which did the whole job during the year, but thanks to the members who attended this and made it a success in the last 12 months. But there is an additional team which worked behind, and my thanks goes to that team also. That team is they are the warriors of BCICA, I would call. They are the ICAP Toastmasters Club, led by CA Panchu and CA Venkat, without whom I don't think we could have achieved so much during the collection drive, during the organizing of many events. CA Clifford was there, CA Gopal was there, CA Karthikeyan, CA Bharat, to name a few, who are always available whenever we call for us. Even now, when we have taken up the youth leadership program, these guys are available to help us out. So ICAB, sponsored by the Bahrain chapter of ICAI, ICAB is where leaders are made. I would urge everyone to join ICAB. At the same time, this is a platform for me to promote that also. But thank you, team. Thank you, Mahesh. You are great, amazing, and very good luck to Ajay Needless to say, we are still available, Ajay. Anytime that you call, we will be there. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Raghuji. Can we have our secretary, the last working day of the secretary of the chapter, C. Ajay, to please step in?
Good evening, members. First of all, Eid Mubarak to everybody. And let me start by thanking Prakash ji for the captivating session. I think you made it a great finish to a great term. Thank you, sir. So I think when we came up with the theme of conquering new frontiers, it was really a culmination of the vision that Mahesh had at the beginning of the term. So I think if this was a physical event and if I had asked this question to the live audience, we would have heard a resounding yes. So yes, I think today we can proudly say that we have indeed conquered many new frontiers. I congratulate all the members of this team, all of whom have now become very dear personal friends for me, for making this happen for the term. And I think for me, the highlight of the term was the annual international conference, which was indeed a true team effort, which probably made it the best conference ever, in my opinion. And also the way we adapted during the COVID situation and remained resilient and continued our efforts for the members was also another truly amazing achievement. So we really sign off with an amazing list of achievements. I think Mahesh will probably summarize that later somewhere during the message, but really well done to the team. And what to say about Mahesh? I think I had called Mahesh a visionary leader in our inauguration speech, and he has indeed proven to be one. We truly had an amazing congruence of mind, which helped me successfully deliver as the secretary of the chapter. And to me, my tribute to Mahesh is not limited to this one day, but will be enduring during the entire next term. In that, whatever I would have achieved as a chairperson in the next term, a significant portion of the credit, I think, will go to him for the way he mentored me during the last year. So I think it's high time his young family gets him back. So I congratulate him, wish him all the best for his future endeavors, and hope he continues to guide me and my team as we take over from tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. So we now go to the vice captain or the vice chairperson of the Bahrain chapter, CA Sandeep Shah. Sandeep, we can't hear you. Sandeep, we can't hear you, Sandeep.
Hello.
Yes, now we can.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. Thank you, Mahesh. Wish you Eid Mubarak to all the members. First of all, I would like to say that it's now 10 years, more than 10 years on the Iceland, and I was with committee around approx 3.5 years, even more than 3.5 years, I would say. It was a very long journey. Started with being a member of subcommittee under the tenure of Shokat sir. Later on, I joined Balraj sir as an EXCOM member, and then Sridhar sir. So thank you, Sridhar sir, for your great inspiration. So that I joined the EXCOM, and later on, I took the position of vice chair. It was little unfortunate from my end that because of my health issue, I couldn't continue as a chairperson. But I will be with Ajay. You can call me anytime. I will be there. Whatever I can help you to the extent possible, I'm there. And wish you all the very best. And Mahesh, it was a great tenure. It was good to work with you. You are a great leader. As Ajay rightly said, you are a visionary chairperson. Wish you all the best for your new endeavor, and I hope that you can spend a good time with your family, which your family is missing. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Sandeep. Chetan, if you have joined, you can just share your thoughts and experiences before I step into my part of the discussion. Right. As we wait, Chetan. Right.
No, I think Mahesh, he's not
no
yet
problem.
joined.
No problem. He can join later. So,
Um,
ladies and gentlemen and members, again a warm good evening. As
Mahesh,
we have already said,
I think Bhavin is left.
Yeah, I'm there, Sandeep. What happened?
No. Any comments from your end? Your experience?
Bhavin was the first one to share his experiences.
Sorry, I missed that actually.
No problem. I hope I haven't missed anyone. If there is anyone, please, remind me. Ladies and gentlemen, we just want to say thank you to everyone for being part of this wonderful journey. Every beginning, everything which has a beginning has an end, and that's nature's law. And every ending marks a new beginning, and a new beginning with lots of hopes and aspirations for all of us. The same is true for the BCICI Executive Committee 1920 and the coming committee 2020 and 2021. I have to thank each one of you for placing the faith in me and my committee when you elected us to this role about a year ago. And this, for me, ladies and gentlemen, is the 5th executive committee that I'm part of. I started my journey in BCICI ExCom in the year 2014 under the leadership of CA Meenakshi Sundaram. And since then, I have worked with many stalwarts who have led Bahrain chapter achieve huge milestones. Meenakshi Sundaram was the first person. After that, it was Kapil Batra. Then it was Uday. Then it was Sridhar. And then, of course, this is the term that I'm in. So it has been a wonderful experience, and I'm at a loss of words to tell how much all this experience has changed me as a person. When we assumed responsibility a year ago, I had mentioned my team knows exactly why they are in this particular role. It's all about serving the members. It's all about giving back to the profession. It's all about doing the best that we can to take this profession to the greater heights. Now, we are very fortunate because this chapter has been in existence for the last 30 plus years. So when we took up this role, we had kind of a solid foundation to stand on. Our founding fathers, our predecessors have built a strong foundation, and it was up to us, of course, to take it to the next level. So we were very fortunate in that sense that we didn't have to start anything from scratch. All we had to do was take it forward and make it as better as we can. Now, today, when I speak to you as a final message, through this virtual medium, we of course have true and well conquered new frontiers in many areas. I wouldn't want to dwell too much in the speech. I will send across a communication later in the evening where we will highlight some of our achievements, I would say. And all I wanted to thank is also the critical pillars of our journey is our family members. Now, we all have families, and as Ajay mentioned, some of us have young families, some of have seniors to be taken care of. So their support and encouragement has been critical for us to spare time in managing the affairs of the chapter in the last 1 year. So we are thankful for that. We are also thankful to the Bahrain Accountants Association, which we all know because of whom we are having an affiliation. We're thankful to the leadership in India, the ICI president and the vice president and the Central Council members. We're also thankful to the Indian Embassy for their support and encouragement for our activities. As Raghuji highlighted, ICAB is a strong pillar of support for BCICI, and we are extremely thankful for them in their support to us. Prakash Iyer mentioned the concepts to be learned from the tea bag. And the last point about the tea bag was point number 7, that every tea bag has to finally make way for the new tea bag to come in. And that's what is happening, friends. We are 11 tea bags who came together, and our intent was to serve a good tea for all of you. And we hopefully did justice to that. And it's time for us to be chucked out and a new team to come in. So yes, CA Jay Kumar, CA Santosh Varghese, CA Sharmila, and the team, we are all looking forward to your wonderful journey tomorrow. You have a great leader in Ajay. Having worked with him for the last 2 years, I can vouch for his commitment. I can vouch for his sincerity, and I can vouch for his enthusiasm. So you are going to be having an excellent leader. And today's session, of course, is going to be also a catalyst for your leader to take tips and implement that as he manages the affairs of the chapter in the coming year. So with these words, I just want to thank all the members of the Bahrain chapter, because without you, none of these things would have been possible. My role as a chairperson comes to an end officially today, but my role as a professional will continue for eternity. I will always remain a disciplined and committed soldier of this noble profession and ICAI. To serve this chapter was a lifetime opportunity, and I owe a lot to my parents for their blessings and good wishes. I also thank my spouse, Sri Bharati, and my son, Arjun and Janak, for giving me the time and space to do my role in the last several years. God has been kind to me in more than many ways, and I'm glad that He scripted a role for me to be of some use in giving back to the profession, which has given me and every one of us everything. Finally, I want to say, let us all collectively work for a vibrant profession to become the largest accounting body, as envisaged by our President ICI, to be the largest accounting body in the globe by 2024. I just want to conclude with a Sanskrit sloka, which is there in our roll-up banners. Karya Purusha Karena Lakshyam Sampadete. With determined human efforts, all tasks will be surely completed. With these words, I just want to also thank all our stakeholders, our sponsors, our partners who have given unconditional support for ensuring that all our events are a grand success. Thank you. Over to you, Bhavin, for the remaining session.
Thanks a lot, Mahesh, for summarizing a little bit of the last year, because if we take time to summarize all the things of last year, it will be a session in itself. It was a wonderful time.
There is a lot to share. There is a lot to say. I would rather put that in a written communication than letting people hold on to the virtual medium, because it's more than 2 hours now.
Yeah, sure. So before we move on to the vote of thanks, just wanted to have a check if Chetan has joined in and is he available. Probably he can just share his experience in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'm available, Bhavin. Thank you very
Chetan,
much.
you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mahesh. Yeah, I hope I can. I'm loud.
Yeah, you are audible, Chetan.
Thank you. I just want to say this has been an exceptional year of serving Chartered Accountant chapter of Bahrain chapter of Chartered Accountant of India. I want to thank the team. I want to thank all our colleagues, our sponsors attending all the after again was an exceptional successful year. Beginning of this year, when they started COVID, I was slightly worried. Didn't know how this will be taken care and how we can fulfill our commitments while we are maintaining the social distancing and we are unable to collect the people. But this digital platform, virtual our messages, virtual way of updating our members, giving them best possible seminars, best possible webinars, I mean. That has been really delivery of another. We are in physical or we are in virtual. We just been in best way possible. Thanks to our family members. Thanks to our all the family who has been supporting us, supporting before. I think that so we are staying in Bahrain or outside, but we will still remain in touch. And if anything else the chapter can do, it is we invite comments from all of our chapter members. So thank you, Bhavin. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Chetan.
Thanks.
There is just a quick that I'm just launching, which must be on the screen now for all of you to take a second and vote. I know most of them have dropped out of the call, but whoever are there, please share your views on that. In a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, how will you rate the term 2019-2020? Bhavin, just give a couple of minutes for the people and then you can take over.
Yeah, sure.
we have got about 22 people who have voted, and perhaps the rest are just deciding what's the rating they need to give. Right, Bhavin, so we are going to end this poll now. And, I, of course, didn't mention that, the poll is not anonymous. Whoever has voted, we will know who has voted 1, who has voted 3, who has voted 4 and 5. So we are going to get to the one person who has voted 1 and try and understand how we can meet his or her expectations. Perhaps the new committee can look into that. Right, back to you, Bhavin, to conclude, take the session forward.
Sure. Yeah, so I think some people still want to continue with the voting, but thanks a lot. We'll definitely take your feedback. And Ajay, this is the first task for you informally. So now I think it's been a long session, and I would request Raghuji to please propose a vote of thanks before we move on to the raffles by Ajay. Raghuji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bhavin. Let me begin with thanking Prakash ji for an excellent session this evening. This was the cherry on top of our cake which we built over the past 12 months. This was one of the most excellent and exciting sessions that we witnessed, and we learned a lot from you, Prakash ji. And we hope, as our chairperson said, that we will see you in person in Bahrain very soon once this COVID pandemic ends. And we are looking forward to have one more interesting session with you. Our thanks goes to all our annual sponsors, without whom I don't think we will be doing much as a chapter, organizing events so regularly, so frequently, I would say. And thanks to all the members for attending and making this session as well a big success. And I would also like to thank our MC for the event, Bhavin, who did an excellent job. And thanks to all those who participated in giving a feedback from my XCOM that what we did, what we achieved. And yes, there may be shortcomings, and I'm sure that this Hanon's razor applies to us also. So I hope you guys the members look at it in that way. And definitely there will be great room for improvement. And we are sure that the next chairperson, CA Ajay, will take it over in a very great way. Thank you, everyone. And I hope I have not left out anyone in the vote of thanks. Due to paucity of time, I'm cutting it short. I will hand back the control to MC Bhavin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Raghuji. And for the last raffles of this term, we have the incoming chairperson who is going to handle the raffles for the day. So over to you, Ajay.
Thank you, Bhavin. I think
Ajay, I would like to give you an additional option that as the incoming chairperson, you can be gracious enough that all the members, not many are present on this session now, probably a gift to all of them might also be warranted.
No, I don't know if you told them that there is going to be a raffle, because people seem to have dropped off. But whoever is there, I think they should bear the fruit of staying on so long, I think. we should definitely consider that, yes. So I'll share my screen just so that we can do the raffle. Just tell me if it is visible.
Yeah, it's loading. So let me wait for, yeah, now it's visible.
Okay, so whoever's names comes on, please unmute your video and just come on screen and claim it. Okay, the first prize is Hiral R. Modi. The price is, by the way, 40 dinars voucher from YK Almoy. So there are 5 vouchers for 40 dinars each. So is Hiral present?
Wow.
Hiral, I think your entire fees is being refunded.
Ajay, Hiral is not there. Go ahead.
Okay, so next one. Devakumar, CA Devakumar?
He's not there.
Not there. Okay, Mahesh is doing the honors of checking. Okay. CA Harish Venkat?
Harish is not there.
Wow, so many people are losing out. CA Balakrishnan, Malatiri.
Not there.
महेश को ही दे दें क्या? CA Sandeep Chopra.
Not there.
Excellent. CA Sandeep Gupta.
Not there.
Shall we use Bhavin's idea of giving it to the people who are there?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Ah, Sandeep
Hello.
ji is there. Okay. Sandeep ji gets it. So because Sandeep ji is there, Garvita gets cancelled. Garvita doesn't get.
I
Okay, then.
heard there are 5.
Okay, you are listening. So the second winner is Garvita, as usual. So no surprises there.
Thank
CA
you.
Sanjeev Mahapatra.
Sanjeev is not there.
Okay. Gaurav Agarwal. This is not fair.
I'm also there.
This is not fair. All in the family.
Ajay, as you said, this is the reward for sticking out till the last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. CA Sandeep Shah, of course, Vice Chairperson.
Of course, he is there.
Excellent.
The last one.
We have finished with
Mohit.
4. CA Kunjan Choksi.
Kunjan is not there.
Okay. CA Suresh Nambiar.
Suresh Nambiar is there. He's in India. But of course, I would like to give him when he comes here.
Okay, excellent. So the 5 vouchers are done, and I think we have 2 more that Mahesh wants to give off. So to remind people, his time is up, but the time itself is not up. So we have 2 watches from Titan. So that is going to be the next 2 raffles. CA Naresh Chawla.
Naresh is not there.
CA Ashish Sharke.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
Very
Ashish
good.
is there.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I used to work as a part of Ashish's team, and I'm sure that, when he gets this watch, it might remind him of the good times we spent working together as colleagues.
Yeah, definitely, Mahesh. Those were
Ashish,
good times.
this is my reciprocation. Ashish, this is my reciprocation for your mentorship.
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you.
And the last voucher of the day is CA Anish Daniel. Anish Daniel? No. I don't know, with consensus, can we just give it to Mahesh?
Carry on, Ajay. Carry on.
CA Joby Vincent.
Joby is there.
Yeah. Okay.
Congratulations, Joby.
Congrats, Joby. So you win the very, very last voucher or the raffle of the term. So there will be no raffles in the new term. So I think you probably remembered as the last person. Trivia question for next year, I guess. Thank you, Mahesh, and back to you, Bhavin.
Thanks a lot, Ajay. And thanks a lot, all the members, for giving your valuable time on a Friday evening. And I wish you have a very good extended weekend. Wishing good health for all of you. Take care, and thanks a lot once again. We wish the incoming team all the best for a wonderful year 2020-2021 under the leadership of CA Ajay. All the best to the new team, and thanks a lot to all the members.
Thank you. Bye-bye.